that was a time in the industry when something like that could still really be weaponized against you.
Well, this is one of those interesting stories. So when I read the headline, the Matt Bomer says he lost out on playing Superman because he's gay. I thought that's an important story to cover. I take homophobia very seriously, and I think it's very important to call it out, especially in the role that I'm in. Now, I just don't take the news outlet reporting on this as my facts in this case. I go straight to the source. I go to the audio of Matt saying this on the Hollywood Reporter's Award Chatter podcast because it's important to know exactly what Matt said, how he said it, and what context and circumstances, the overall conversation that he said it in.
This is a very early iteration of Superman, written by J.J. Abrams, called Superman Flyby, I think is what it was called, and it never came to light.
Huh. I got a question right away. How do you know you didn't get cast in a role because you're gay when no one got cast in the role? The movie didn't happen. I was hoping the rest of the audio would answer that question for me. It doesn't. Settle in, this is a doozy. Okay, so let me set the scene for you. Now, after making his acting debut in one episode of All My Children in the year 2000, Matt was hired for a limited role, contract work, on Guiding Light in 2001. And this is when I noticed that Matt seems to put an interesting spin on things.
They were very kind in that they gave me a very limited contract. I didn't have to sign my whole life away. And
I highly doubt that Guiding Light was looking to sign him up to a multi-year contract when he only had one episode of television to his name. No, more likely, Guiding Light was like, okay, let's hire him on a limited basis. No, we'll try him for a few episodes. We'll see how it goes. That's the more likely scenario here. Now, I'm going to take this Guiding Light thread right to the end here. So, Matt goes to an open call audition for Superman as he's doing these occasional appearances on Guiding Light. And apparently he makes it through a few rounds of auditions for Superman.
Concurrently, on Guiding Light, there was a killer in town, as you'll recall.
I do.
And so I think they needed somebody to pin it all on. And so I think the executive producer very kindly wanted to free me up just in case this job came through and said, hey, you're going to be the killer. We're writing you off the show. Go with my blessing. And so it was... I guess I basically got fired, but in a generous way.
No, Matt, you got fired. You think the executive secretly wanted to free you up in case you got the role. That was his secret motivation. He didn't say that because you're saying you think. So you're saying his secret motivation was to write you off the show was that he was really being kind in that you would not have to quit later on if you got the role of Superman. He was firing you first. Got it, Matt. Sure. Okay, now let's circle back to that Superman audition process in 2001.
I went in on a cattle call for Superman. And
cattle call means it's an open call, yeah. So anyone can show up. They're trying to cast an unknown actor as Superman. And yeah, apparently Matt impressed the people that he saw that day.
And then it turned into a 4-month, audition experience where I was auditioning again and again and again and flying out to New York and doing chemistry reads and flying out to LA, doing chemistry reads, flying back to New York, flying back to LA to do a screen test. And
that's normal for any role like that. Especially an unknown, but yeah, even a big star, they're going to go through the multiple rounds of audition because a studio is investing a huge amount of money into this movie and probably multiple movies. Yeah, they want to get it right and make sure, they got the right guy. So yeah, they go through multiple rounds of auditions.
It looked like I was the director's choice for the role.
It looked like. So the director was either Mick G or Brett Ratner. This project passed through both their hands at different points. Yeah, this really got tossed around to a bunch of people. Now, Matt doesn't identify the director, which is convenient. It's really hard to clear up the story when you don't name the director. So the director didn't tell you they're their choice. You just think you were their choice. I'm noticing a theme here, Matt. Matt wouldn't have been the only one going through this multiple rounds of auditions. There's probably 3 to 5 actors that they were considering. Because yeah, if it was him, he wouldn't still be going through the audition process. So yeah, they hadn't made a choice at this point.
Well, but also though, you had reason to believe that you had a pretty good shot at something that would have been life-changing if it panned out. But
yeah, I signed a 3-picture deal at Warner Brothers. Yeah.
It sounds to me that Matt just said, I signed a 3-picture deal at Warner Brothers. What? Okay, so if that's the case, that's a whole different story. But why still saying that it looked like you're the director's choice if apparently you signed a contract, a 3-picture contract with Warner Brothers? That would mean you got the role, Matt. But you didn't get the role. But you're saying you signed a contract? See, I got a lot of questions here. I'm not saying Matt's a liar. Just as he's telling the story, immediate questions are coming up in my mind, and the host of this podcast is not doing any of that. Scott Weinberg is now going to push Matt, even though he's just said he signed a 3-picture deal with Warner Brothers, he's going to push him in the direction of this homophobia angle.
I guess only, again, if what I've read is correct, would this be the first time where you're still at that point, what you were keeping private about yourself still at that time might have been, in a sense, used against you?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Are you with me here? We just went from, I signed a 3-picture deal at Warner Brothers to, this is the first time you were still discriminated against. The first time you're still discriminated against. Yeah, that's my understanding. Huh?
That was a time in the industry when something like that could still really be weaponized against you. How and why and who, I don't know. But yeah, that's my understanding.
You don't know how you're discriminated against, who discriminated against you, and why you're discriminated against, but you definitely have to have an understanding that you didn't get a role that no one was casting because you're gay. So yeah, by the way, this whole project was scrapped. Warner Brothers, it went through a few directors. There was issues with budget and location. They couldn't decide on anything. The whole project was scrapped. Like J.J. Abrams' script was thrown out, and Warner Brothers didn't even revisit the idea of doing a superhero movie for another 3 years. So Matt, how do you have this understanding? Could it be this Jackie Collins interview that happened back in 2012? So Jackie Collins, yes, best-selling author Jackie Collins, did an interview with Gaydar Radio back in 2012. Now, I tried to find the audio of this. I couldn't, so I do have to rely on the quote that Advocate has. And already we know Jackie Collins is not a Hollywood producer who worked with Warner Brothers on a Superman movie. No, she's a best-selling author. So we know right away that this is secondhand information that she's been told by someone else. A friend must have told her the story about Matt Bomer, okay? So here's the quote of what she says. Bomer had not come out of the closet, and people in the know knew he was gay. His audition tape went in, and he called up the agent. So I have to assume that that is Matt made an audition tape, sent it in, and then he called his agent and said, hey, what did they think of my audition tape? Someone didn't like him and told the producers he was gay. They said, no, we can't cast you. The reason he didn't get cast was because he was gay. Now, Matt's actual story of what happened doesn't line up with that at all. He didn't send an audition tape. No, he went and did an open call audition. He went back for multiple rounds with screen testing and chemistry testing. There was no audition tape that went in. He never called up a stage saying how they liked the tape. So Jackie's story that she heard from someone else doesn't line up with what actually Matt experienced. So Jackie's story has no weight, except Matt seems to have conveniently taken apart that he didn't get a role, that no one was cast in because he was gay. I'm done, people. I'm done. I got so many questions about this now. I'm not calling Matt a liar, but I got questions. Do you want to answer them, Matt? Thoughts?